Hello folks, Matt here. Haven't done a video in a couple days. This one's going to be on what I teased you guys about the other day, Nirvana. Nirvana is my first 90s band to do a show on, and it's apropos because I'm still going to say that they were the greatest American group of the 90s, rock band anyway. See, rap's a whole different thing. Rap had pretty much come up and was just as important as rock in the 90s. So, you can't say Nirvana were the greatest thing to come out of America. But anyways, there was a time that I had everything that Nirvana released on CD. The only thing that wasn't on CD, there was a live version of a 45 on Sub Pop, I think. Kiss, Kiss Molly's Lips, which I couldn't find that 45. I don't know where a lot of my old vinyl is, but I think everything else that they ever did, made it onto CD before the end of the decade. And I don't have a list of what all those things are because, they had like songs on various artists' comps. They had a Kiss cover, right? I don't know where that might be underneath my, I might know where that is. They had a Velvet Underground cover. You know what? Give me a second. Man, wouldn't you know it, I couldn't find either one. That's all right. I got a bunch of stuff here to show you guys, so let's just dive in. All right. From what I can remember, Bleach. That's the first thing that they ever had. I mean, they may have had a single or something, Love Buzz, maybe on 45 before this came out, but this was the one, right? Late 80s, Bleach. This came out at a weird time. I'm going to say it was 89. I had graduated from college in 88, so I wasn't immediately, my nose wasn't to the ground about what the latest bands were and such. Once I left that collegiate scene the previous year, the bands that were really big in 89, and Nirvana were not one of them, were like, the Pixies. Well, the Pixies had been big previously before that. And then in England, the whole Britpop thing was just kind of starting to not really get going because that wouldn't happen until like the early 90s. But you had, these new bands coming up that were, getting popular that I would have been into just a few years earlier. But when I graduated from college, I started getting back into all the classic rock that I had not been listening to when I was an undergrad. And anyway, Nirvana, Soundgarden were around in 89. This is a good album. It's not a great one. I mean, obviously, what's on here? Blue, Floyd the Barber. When I get my hair cut now, it's at Floyd's Barbershop. About a Girl was the big number here, which kind of sounds Beatlesque, right? School's good. Love Buzz was this 45. Paper Cuts, Negative Creep. A lot of these are good songs, though. Scoff, Swap Meet, Mr. Mustache. Some of these I can't even remember. Sifting, Big Cheese, and Downer. Anyways, they don't have Dave Grohl yet, but it still sounds like Nirvana pretty much. Here's I even have this CD, the CD single, the Sub Pop of Blue, probably because it's got a unique B-side. Blue, Love Buzz, Been a Sun, that's a good song. And Stain, yeah, see, I mean, I remember this. Yeah. This is back when Sub Pop was a cool label, and it was kind of like an underground label that Pacific Northwest bands that were soon to become very big. Here's my Mo-Fi edition of Nevermind. It is a classic. It's probably, in my estimation, the most important American rock album of the 1990s. These songs are all classics. Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, Come As You Are. Wow, what a triptych of songs, right? Breed, Lithium, Polly, Territorial Pissings, Drain You, Lounge Act, Stay Away on a Plane, and Something in the Way. This is a classic. It's a 5-star album and is the people say, some people who just are looking for something negative to say about the album say it's too slick, too, produced. I think I even heard Kurt say that after the fact, but it's, we all loved it at the time. It was like the album of 1991, and that was a great year in 1991. You had Pearl Jam, you had REM were big that year, you had Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers, even Bonnie Raitt. You had all these bands that were kind of Guns N' Roses, that had big albums, and it was still like a rock year. That would change. Well, you had Ice Cube was big that year too, but you had all these bands that were still very much in the rock tradition, whereas in the future, like say by the late 90s, rock wasn't the big thing that it had been for decades. It was starting to, pop was, coming back in. A lot of girl singers. Britney Spears was a big deal in 1999, but in the early 90s, it was still rock everywhere. We had grunge in the States. We had Britpop, in the across the Atlantic, and to go over all the great albums came out of England in 1991. That would be a whole show in and of itself. But I think, because again, I'm American, towering over them all was Nevermind. All right. You had, what was this, 92, Incesticide. I remember having a friend who was a punk rocker. He didn't like this album. I had to keep reminding him, this is not a real album. It's just a collection of stuff, And as a collection of stuff, it's pretty good. Dive, let's say Sliver. Can't even read it. Stain, Been a Sun, Turnaround. There's another version of Molly's Lips. Son of a Gun, New Wave, Polly, Beeswax, Downer, Mexican Scaffold, Hairspray Queen, Aero Zeppelin, Big Long Now, and the classic Aneurysm. For a while, Aneurysm was my favorite Nirvana song. This is a good version. There's another really good version. I can't remember what CD it's on. See, again, I used to have all this stuff memorized. I could tell you exactly where every little obscure Nirvana song came from, what CD, what album. But it's been such a long time since I've really listened to all this stuff that, that's not something I can retrieve from my long-term memory. Here is the classic In Utero, the MoFi version. Here's the regular CD that I had before. I don't know where my old CD of Nevermind is. All I have is the MoFi. This is another 5-star album. Steve Albini produced it, who of course was he had done Big Black and a few other things before that. And listen to these songs: Serve the Servants, Sunless Apprentice, Heart-Shaped Box is classic, Rape Me, Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle, Dumb, Very Ape, Milk It, Pennyroyal Tea, another classic, Radio Friendly Unit Shifter, which is not, Tourette's, and All Apologies. If this is not a 5-star album, it's just a slither, a hair's difference. It is a 5-star album. In Utero, I'm going to say it's their second truly classic album, and many people feel this is their third. Remember MTV Unplugged in the 90s? It was a big deal. A lot of acts had unplugged albums. We used to watch this over and over again. Recorded in 93, wasn't released, I think, as an album until 94, right? Right about the time he died, or right before. About a girl, Come As You Are, Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam, The Man Who Sold the World, the Bowie tune. Pennyroyal Tea, Dumb, Polly, On a Plane, Slipping in the Way, Plateau, Oh Me, Lake of Fire, All Apologies, and Where Did You Sleep Last Night? You may have heard 3 songs you didn't know what they were there. Those were Meat Puppets tunes. Meat Puppets were a great band out of Arizona in the 80s and 90s that, Nirvana gave a major, heads up on this show. And it was after that I think that they remastered. See, Meat Puppets were on Greg Ginn's label in the 80s, but they got out successfully. and bought the rights to their own stuff, and so their CDs sound good now, Meat Puppets, and they're not on the Black Flag label. So, but Black Flag, Husker Du, Minutemen, so many other bands, those CDs still sound crappy, unfortunately. But pick up some Meat Puppets CDs because they sound good. So anyways, that's another great album. MTV Unplugged. We know what happened to Kurt after that. I'm not gonna go into it. Here's a good live album from the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah. Very different from, this is posthumous. Very different from the MTV Unplugged album. It says 16 live performances recorded between 89 and 94. Won't go over all the songs with you, but if you just want a standard, live Nirvana album where they're not playing acoustically, this is it. This is it. How we doing? 11 minutes? Good. This is a best of, really just called Nirvana, which came out, if you want a single disc. And it's got Where'd You Sleep Last Night, which is the, where is that from? Is that Leadbelly? I don't remember now. You Know You're Right was also a good one that had never been on an album before. Otherwise, it's just standard stuff. But, if you want a single disc of Nirvana songs, there you go. Here's a CD single of Lithium, which I no doubt bought because of its B-sides. Been a Son Live and Curmudgeon, which was previously unreleased. See, I had a lot of this stuff. I don't remember now what I'm not showing you guys, because they had a lot of releases which weren't on their regular albums. You had to get the 45s, you had to get various artist comps or stuff like that. So, anyways. Here's a CDR I made. Oh, this is it. This is the cool. This is the Molly's Lips. Okay, so somewhere I have the actual 45 of this on vinyl. This, I had someone burn it onto CDR for me. This is the live version of Molly's Lips, which was a Vaseline song, if I remember. Kurt was good at turning me for sure, on to bands I was previously unaware of or had dimly, heard the name. And the Vaselines were one of them. I don't remember if I was into the Meat Puppets before. I was not into the Meat Puppets in the 80s. So I may have got into their stuff for the first time after the MTV Unplugged album. Hard to remember now. It was well over 30 years ago. The Raincoats were another band, a female kind of punk band that he turned me on to that I wasn't aware of. Anyways, this 45 was half Nirvana and half The Fluid. That's their side. And the Nirvana songs were Molly's Lips and, or maybe that was the only song. Molly's Lips Live, yeah. And then The Fluid had Candy Live. So anyways, there you go. Back in the day, I don't know if it's different now, this live version of Molly's Lips was never on CD. It could be on now, I don't know. Here's, what is this? Nevermind, an interview. That's how much of a fan I was. I was just buying this stuff just because they were interviewed. And, well, here's some bootlegs. Here's Roma, which, live in Rome, I think. Anything on here that you don't know that I should bring to your attention? Sliver and Dumb. Oh, that's two tracks. Blue and Battered Girl. No, it's all stuff that we know. Demolition, number 23. Anyways, they were a sensational live band, and I have a decent amount of stuff. Here's another bootleg. It's a box set, Into the Black, that I probably didn't play all that much because it doesn't look that familiar. It is 6 discs. Disc 1, ultra rare demos and sessions, like Bleach, rough mixes and stuff. Disc 2, master demo recordings. of, looks like, again, more Bleach stuff. Disc 3, live at the Paramount Theater in 1991. Disc 4, at the Reading Festival in 92 from BBC Master Tapes. Disc 5, Last American Show, Part 1, Seattle Center Coliseum in 1994. Wow. And then Disc 6 is The Last American Show, Part 2. And then finishing off Disc 6 is some John Peel sessions from 1991. Yeah, this is pretty good. I probably should have played it more. And here was the standard box set of, rarities, demos, whatnot. It's just called, it's called With the Lights Out, I guess. That I got. And again, folks, I know that there's more, but I can't remember. Like, for instance, I saw this and I pulled it out, this No Alternative disc, because I thought that it had a Nirvana song, but I looked at the whole, I looked at the whole track listing and there's not. So, but they had various things like this, where like they had a one song on a various artist comp. So, anyways, Nirvana. Yeah, they were probably, I should word this correctly. They were probably the last band I was really into, that I really, felt that, they were contemporaries of mine. He was younger than me by a few years, though, when he died. He died at 27 in 94. I was 29, so 2 years younger. Still good enough. I remember being in a Mexican restaurant in the early 90s when it was Come As You Are was playing, and I was with my wife at the time. Or maybe we weren't even married yet. But no, we weren't married, because we didn't get married until 92. This probably would have been 91 when Nevermind was a big album. But I remember thinking, wow, that's what I would want to sound like if I was in a band. Come As You Are. So anyways, I don't really have any thoughts as to his demise, his depression, his chronic stomach ailments, Courtney Love. I don't really, I think the whole thing was tragic, and his daughter had to grow up, without a father. But, we'll never know. We weren't there. We weren't in the inner circle. We don't, all we can do is just, reel from the impact, I guess. So, Nirvana. Yeah, I'm going to say my favorite American band of the 90s. I'm going to do something totally off the beaten track for my next show. I'm thinking about doing James Taylor. What more punk thing to do than to do James Taylor after Nirvana? Of course, I might change my mind in the next day or so. Matt signing off.